Hello and welcome to NDTV. I'm Aditya Kaul and you are watching a special broadcast on the US-India deal. The deal has been sealed. We do not know the nitty-gritties or the technical details, but this comes after hectic parleys between India and the United States. A lot of barbs, a lot of ugly comments also, but that seems to be now behind us. Now there is a win-win deal between Washington, D.C. and New Delhi. To talk about this and more, joining us live and exclusive here on NDTV is Mukesh Aghi, the President and CEO of the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Thank you very much, Mr. Aghi, for joining us. Your first comments on this. We saw your statement, but is this a win-win diplomacy, or is this more a victory for Trump and DC from the commentary that we have seen from the Trump administration, because there isn't much that has come out from New Delhi yet?
Well, it's a win-win for people of US and India. You have to understand that the trade deal basically helps India labor-intensive exports into the US market. It helps US companies to continue their supply chain in India vis-a-vis China itself. China is 34% tariff, India is 18%. And I think you have to ignore the domestic noise created by politicians both in India and the US, because you have to sell the deal, you have to basically please the local constituency. But overall, it's a deal which is beyond trade. It's a partnership between the two countries, which is going to have an impact geopolitically.
But when we speak about the bonhomie between the top leadership, that was visible during the Trump first administration as well. But over the last 1 year, we saw a lot of ugly commentary also. Not fixated on that, but Russian oil was one of the clinchers, I would believe, to seal the deal. One of the top demands from the Trump administration was that India needs to stop buying the Russian oil. Do you think that was a clincher? And what kind of a message does it send geopolitically that India is going to apparently stop buying Russian oil completely?
Well, you have to understand that you have a large constituency in the US, the business community, the Indian American. They were concerned about the relationship. And they saw lack of trade deal impacting the relationship. And so there was a lot of effort put in. And I think you have to give credit to Ambassador Sergio Gore, who took the lead and basically convinced the president to move forward. As far as the Russian oil goes, I think India had started reducing buying after the sanction on 2 of the oil companies in Russia. So today, India's procurement is 50%. And India has other opportunities from Venezuela and other countries. When you make deals, when you make friendship, partnership, you have to basically somehow adjust to other people's need also without sacrificing the national interest. And so I believe India will have opportunity to buy more US oil, more Venezuelan oil. And with time, it will come down. It may not stop overnight, but you'll see a reduction coming through Russian purchase of oil.
Well, India, over the last 4 years of the Russia-Ukraine war, has been speaking about strategic autonomy, that whatever decisions we make, especially when it comes to energy sourcing and oil sourcing, would be as per the national interest. Do you think India has stepped back a little, or do you think India has got a better price or a better deal from the Trump administration?
I don't think India is sacrificing its strategic autonomy here. India is a proud nation, it's a great civilization, and it will keep on deciding what's good for India. And that we have seen with the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. I believe when you're able to strike a deal on a bigger picture, 18% tariff, opening of the market, then you'll have to make some adjustment here and there. And that's not giving up on strategic autonomy. That's looking at the bigger picture and driving the relationship. So in no way India is sacrificing strategic autonomy by reducing Russian oil. India used to buy some time ago 30% of oil imported from Iran. It was able to reduce that because you have to basically win friends out there and also support them. So I would say that overall it's a good deal, and reduction in Russian oil is not sacrificing of strategic autonomy.
And when it comes to the tariffs, I remember in August last year, I think it was 7th of August, when 25% tariffs were imposed on India, and later that month, that was increased to 50%. Now the overall tariffs come down to 18%. If we look at the competing economies in Asia, from Indonesia to Vietnam, to Bangladesh, to Pakistan and others, I think India has the lowest of the tariffs right now, 18%. Is this beneficial? Is this enough? Or do you think there could be more headway in negotiations that will happen from weeks from now? Could this be further reduced to 15 or 12%?
Well, you have to understand 18%, yes, it's still a tariff, but more important, it sends a message that for President Trump, India is very important. When you look at the 34% tariff on China, 20% on Vietnam, 20% on Bangladesh, 19% on Pakistan, it sends a message that India is critical to the United States. Will this help India gain market share? Absolutely. When you look at the US companies, they're trying to have China plus one strategy. It really pushes them to leverage India now, because all the components coming from China into the US are subject to 34% tariff. Now we're basically coming down to 18. That has a different impact. So I think overall it's about messaging. It's about lowering of the tariff. Yes, you can always say, hey, 15 is better, 10 is better, but let's at least celebrate and move forward on 18, and we'll keep on working at it to bring it down further.
Well, as we walk towards this cautious optimism of a trade deal that would be announced and perhaps signed in a few days from now, how optimistic are you about the businesses of India and, of course, the United States? Your forum is one of the most strategic and important forum that is kind to align and bridge whatever gaps are in between. So what would be your recommendation now, walking towards a pragmatic approach? What would you recommend the governments of both Trump administration and the Modi government here to make an alignment so that there is an ease of doing business? There is, of course, a positivity when it comes to transforming lives in both these countries.
Well, I have talked to over 100 plus global CEOs last 4 to 6 months, and not a single one told me that they will reduce their investment in India. Not a single one told me that they'll move their supply chain out of India. So the sentiment of the business community on India is very, very strong. When you look at the 2,000 global capability centers in India, 60% are American, doing high-end innovation, high-end research. And when you look at the data last 2 years, over 300,000 IP have come out of those capability centers. So I think what we have to do is keep on selling the India story, that a country which is moving forward, it's an economy which is growing 7 to 8%. It's an economy which gives access to US companies to gain market share. So I think that story does not change. I think my only recommendation to the government as it keeps on moving forward is make things easier, to make things smoother from ease of doing business, because that's a fundamental issue which a lot of companies still face. But I think we have seen a lot of progress. In the last budget also, we saw a lot of effort being made on infrastructure, so supply chain can move forward, a lot of effort on the customs arena, so goods can go in and out without much challenges itself. So the country is moving in the right direction. From a US perspective, we are seeing more and more Indian company coming up, setting up manufacturing, setting up steel plant, aluminum plant. So that process continues. But the relationship is not just about trade. It's about much bigger. It's about people to people. It's about technology. It's about geopolitics itself. So let's not forget that. That to me is a much bigger pie between the two countries than just trade itself. And we are very optimistic that this will create the momentum to move forward.
Although you answered half of my question, but I'll still ask you, over the last 7 months, of course, we are talking about the India-US trade deal today, but it began with the FTA between India and UK. We had India and New Zealand announce their trade deal. We had, of course, the India-Oman seal the deal. And then the mother of all deals just a few days ago, around the Republic Day in Delhi, where the EU leadership came in and signed the historic FTA with India. And that was in negotiation for about 19 years. Why do you think that global community and global leaders are rushing to Delhi for these FTA? Is it the population? Is it the market access? Is it the kind of economic boost trade with India can lead to?
Well, I think it's a combination of multiple factors. First is when you have a tariff coming in from the US side, a lot of countries have started looking at where else can I basically pursue market access.
Right.
And obviously, India becomes important 1.4 billion people, $4 trillion economy growing at 7-8%. And we've seen, for example, Apple 5 years ago didn't have much revenue in domestic market. Today, Apple has crossed over $9 billion in domestic sales in India. And its export to India has gone substantially. In fact, every iPhone 17 has been made in India. So what we are seeing is a story of make in India for India, make in India for the world, looking good for everybody.
And finally, Trump in his social media post on Truth Social also spoke about how India has agreed to buy American. He speaks about the 500 billion target, perhaps diversification of trade, defense, and different sectors. How does that sound in a very pragmatic approach? Is it achievable?
No, absolutely. I think when you look at India spends over $120 billion buying energy from outside. India is procuring defense equipment. India procuring LGA from other countries itself. So I think from every aspect, that number is achievable. It's not limited to 1 year. There's a timeline to it. It could be 5 years, 7 years. But India is spending that kind of money. And I think when you build a relationship which is beyond trade, you reach out to friends and buy equipment, supplies from them like US is doing with India. So I think that number looks very big today, but over the long term, it's achievable.
And in the long run, in the days ahead, what are the challenges that you look forward to? Of course, geopolitical tensions, Russia, Ukraine, the crisis in the Middle East. But do you think India and US together can play a significant role in calming the tempers? There have been significant disruptions in the supply chains and connectivity. But Trump had invited India to the Board of Peace, for instance, for the Middle East. On Russia, Ukraine as well, there is some kind of a same path, same road that we are seeing. India has welcomed Trump's initiatives when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. Do you think there will be more alignment between Trump and Modi now onwards, now that the trade deal almost is settled, on geopolitical tremors, especially on the Indo-Pacific and the Quad? There would be more alignment now visible?
Well, when you look at the messaging from President Trump on Truth Social, he basically complimented and said, my dear friend, Prime Minister Modi.
Yes.
That relationship was always intact. In fact, when the certain rhetoric came out from the White House, basically Prime Minister did not react in any way. He just kept a very dignified approach to the whole thing. I believe that the relationship between the two leaders is very, very strong. And that's going to percolate down to the rest of the administration, both India side and the US side. India has a friend, which is US, and US needs India as a friend from a geopolitical turbulence taking place on a global basis. China is a challenge for India, so is for the United States. And I think that you will see a convergence of strategy, convergence of thinking on how to deal with China, which is becoming much more aggressive, assertive as you move forward. So I think India has a role to play in the geopolitical arena, be it Middle East, be it Russia, Ukraine, or be it in the Indo-Pacific region. I think the way we are seeing it is the focus India has is let's get the domestic economy going. Let's improve the quality of life of citizen. I think that's where India's focus is. Even though India picked up, took its defense budget up by 15% on capital expenditure, overall India's focus is let's get our house in order before we start helping others in the other geographies.
And India has, of course, said that this is not an era of war and solutions cannot be found on the battlefield. My last question to you, Mr. Mukesh Aghi, and this is perhaps looking into the magic ball and telling me, in the past, we've seen the dynamics between countries being framed from similar kind of a thinking. You believe in democracy, you believe in rules-based order, so you get, of course, branded in one kind of a category globally. But now it increasingly seems that that rules-based order is under significant stress. And what we are witnessing more is that oil defense supply chains, and of course, critical minerals are playing a significant role. So are these the factors that will determine the overall global geopolitics and friendships of future?
Well, the whole order of UN and international rule of law seems to be dissipating. And what we are seeing is the rule of might, and that's what we call in might is right approach, which is dangerous because it kind of causes much more uncertainty among nations when they deal with each other. It increases the arms race among countries itself. But that seems to be the direction we are seeing at the moment. Where will it end? We don't know. But I think what it does is it tells a story, a message to India that you have to become self-sufficient in every aspect. You have to become stronger economically. You have to become stronger militarily because you have a role to play beside defending your vested interests. So from that perspective, I think we have challenges. Let's see where it goes. But we are moving into a very uncertain world as we move forward.
Well, we are certainly moving towards an uncertain world in a very turbulent phase, but certainly there's a glimmer of hope with this US-India trade deal. At least there are some smiling faces and there's a cheer. At least the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum is welcoming this. Mukesh Aghi, thank you very much for joining us here on NDTV.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.